Mabuhay, everyone. It means live and go beyond existing. I am Reverend Reg, and this morning at 5 a.m. Manila time, I'm so grateful that I have this chance to have a chat with a colleague of mine. And today, we're just going to tap into that aspect of ourselves where, we get motivated and inspired. And let me check first if we're streaming in Facebook because here in StreamYard it says we're only streaming here in another channel. So let me see that. Okay, awesome. So if you're in Facebook right now and you're not able to see this, just go to the perspective page and so that you have the opportunity to ask questions if you have questions. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to share this to some of our Facebook friends. All right. So anyway, let me give you all a brief background of our guest today. Adelita Montero is a conscious entrepreneur, an international coach and speaker, and a four times Brazilian Jiu Jitsu world champion. Adelita works with high performing entrepreneurs, corporate leaders, and athletes who struggle with unresourceful emotional mental states, causing them to fall short in reaching their goals. She guides individuals and teams in developing a warrior champion mindset for maximizing results and creating more freedom and success. As a world class athlete, Adelita teaches the proven techniques and tools used in developing her own winning strategies for success on the mats and in life. That is really awesome, by the way. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for
Awesome.
having me, Reverend Reg.
Yeah, I'm so excited because, I'm also into high performance habits. And a day before you went to my studio, I was also interviewing another colleague of ours, and she's also into changing our habits of the mind, especially there's a very big difference when it comes to changing the small habits that people think are actually unnecessary. When people get into the zone where they think they want to get something big done, a lot of people immediately think that, okay, I'm going to make this drastic change. But it really takes breaking down of the steps that you need to take, especially as an athlete. I'm very sure that you have to look into the small details that will actually make a huge difference in your game and especially in life. So please give us an idea how you train for your games and at the same time how you apply it to your clients.
Yeah, so I started with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu uh, when I was 28 years old. So I was not really versed in this martial arts. So I picked up late in life. I came from a family. I'm from Brazil, and my family they weren't into sports. They didn't have
Mhm.
any gym. We never had gym memberships or worked out outside or had any sports or anything like that ever. So I really missed that, and I felt like that was really something that was missing. I felt like many pieces were missing, and that was a really important one. So I didn't come from a family that were into physicality and competitive and winners or anything like that. So I had to
Mhm.
create this for myself. It was the very opposite. Like both of my parents smoked one pack of cigarettes a day. That's a
My
lot,
God.
right? That's
Yeah.
back then. That's a common smoke in the car, and I was smoking through secondhand smoke too. So what happens is you have to have several things in your life for you develop in a healthy way, to have a strong foundation, right? I think the first one is spirituality. I like to look at four different parts. There's spirituality, right? Not necessarily religion, because that's kind of different, right? Religion's man-made.
Yes.
Spirituality is when you connect directly with the creator, divinity, the source, right, of life. Okay, and it's kind of delusional to think that, if you think that there's no God, because like, how could it possibly, like, what are
Yeah.
the odds that we could be here, even talking about it, like, if it didn't exist, like, our very existence, our breath, our consciousness, the way the solar system works, how far we are away from the sun, and how close we are from the sun, all these things are like meticulously calculated. It's not a random act, right? So
Yeah.
yes, given that, God, and yes, sure, spirituality, but directly connection, not man-made rules, right? And then you need emotional uh, intelligence, like know how to handle your emotions. So that's what I have an event coming up. We can talk about that later. How to manage your emotional and mental states, right? So your intellect in your mind, you have to tend to that, just like you tend to your body. And then the fourth one is our body. So we have our body, we have our mind, we have our emotions, and we have our spirit. So we have to always be managing these different things, not to mention all the other external things, which are family and relationships. But your first relationship is you within you, and you with God, or let's say divinity, because
Mm.
different people have different names for divinity, and I respect that. But that's where it starts. If you don't have a direct source connection with divinity, you're not going to be able to manage your emotions. That's I teach that right off the bat. Like, that's number one. Like, we are afraid of death. We have no idea concept of what happens when we die, or where we came from, and all those things, they create anxiety, right? Existential anxiety. I study clinical psychology. Um, and to be a clinical psychologist. So we learn a lot about existential psychology and existential philosophies, in which, like, there's a lot of anxiety and stress about being human, and about uh, creating meaning in life, and and self-awareness and freedom, choice, responsibility. So these are the things that we need to be contemplating, like, to get to know ourselves. Self-knowledge is first and foremost. But since I didn't have all these things growing up, I didn't have any of this stuff. I didn't have the spirituality. My family didn't really go to any churches or anything like that. They didn't like it. They thought that organized religion was really uh, the opiate of the masses, to quote Karl Marx.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so I mean, there's some truth to that, but in the absence of a religion or anything, if you have nothing, that's another problem, right? I think that within the churches, within the different religions, there is the sort, there's the essence of what's pure,
Yes.
right? There's
You
an
know.
essence of
Yeah.
what's pure and good. So yeah, I didn't have that. I didn't have the emotional. I didn't have the physical. I didn't have the mindset. I didn't have the intellectuality. They didn't go to school. Like, my dad only had up to fourth grade. So why am I saying all this? Like, I didn't have this. I didn't have that. I'm grateful. I had a lot. Like, I turned out all right. I'm so grateful to my parents. I love my dad. Passed away maybe like 3 years ago, and I loved him to death. I was the closest person to him. And my mom, she's awesome. I really love my mom. I have a great relationship with her. But it's not like pointing out defects, but it's like they did the best that they could with what they had, right?
Yes.
They did their
Yes.
very best. But then now our job is what? Like, now I grew up. It's not time to, like, be looking at, oh, I didn't have this, and poor me and poor that. It's like, hey, how can I make this happen now? That's my
Yeah.
job, to overcome what I didn't have and make it happen. So that's what I'm saying to you, is that I didn't come out from a family that's like gave me everything, gave me the mindset, gave me the nutrition concepts, the discipline, any of this stuff. Nothing. I had to do it. So if I did that, right, I create this warrior champion mindset for myself. And And now I tailor and recreate that for other people that are interested in improving their lives, right? People that are have the mentality of like, okay, maybe I don't like where I'm at. I feel like I'm stuck. And then what I did is I got coaches, right? You get a coach, you get a counselor, you get a therapist, you get like a spiritual psychologist, like Dr. Not doctor, but your doctor yet, Reverend Reg, right? We're like
Mhm.
studying to
Yeah.
at the university to be a doctor, right? So always improving, this quest of always learning and growing, right? Improving your health, improve your mindset, improve your nutrition. So you can always improve a
Yes,
little bit.
yes. You're so awesome. Please go ahead.
It's a lot. I have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, I love everything that you said, and I totally resonate with what you mentioned because it's funny because one time I was talking to a cab driver here in the Philippines, and both of us were just chatting about what happens every day and this COVID thing, and then I was telling her because in the Philippines we call our cab drivers kuya. It's a term of it's a way to make them feel respected. And
Hmm.
then I was telling him, if you really think about it, this problem that we have, you were taught a lot of these things in grade school, like eat right. This is the amount of carbs that you're supposed to consume, and then wash your hands. It's typical things
Basics.
like that. I mean, those things were actually taught us in grade school, but unfortunately, for some reason, we didn't follow through, especially with nutrition, because I'm happy in the States because you have access to better quality food, and it's basically at par with how much the regular food costs. But here in the Philippines, for example, uh, brown rice and white rice and black rice, they're priced very differently, and the healthier food is actually more expensive. So things like that, it does concern me because I'm also going to a nutrition school and I'm getting my certification for personal training, and I love what you're doing because, like what you said, you decided later on that you know what, it doesn't matter if my family isn't into fitness at all or they don't go to any form of religious organization, but I'm gonna decide for myself that I'm gonna change that, and you're going to be accountable for it. So, what was that prompting that led you to actually do those things?
I believe in we're called to do things. There's always a calling inside of me, right? I don't know if you guys understand that, but like I'm Aquarius. It's like I almost can't help it. I'm always interested in growing and expanding in learning. Like I always felt like I was a teacher. So I just like to share and contribute to the world. That what gives meaning to my life. So I think life is a lot about finding meaning, right? So the meaning that you find in your life, you have to be looking for it. Like that's what keeps your emotions and your mindset also in alignment with what is good, with what's life affirming, what is expensive. Like the universe is always expanding. So when we're not, the universe has a way to give us little nudges like, hey, what's up? Like little kid, like you get a little spanking, right? Or you get yelled at.
Yeah.
But then if you don't listen, what happens is, bigger and bigger challenges and crisis come up. So I was just trying to listen to my calling because it's once you feel this calling of service, right? That's what the warrior champion mindset is about. It's about overcoming like the creator mindset, what I call, and the victim
Mm,
mindset, all the
mm,
way to the top of a pyramid of warrior champions. When you're at service, you overcame your ego. You don't really have all these wants and needs and Maslow's pyramid. I pretty much turned that upside
mm.
down. I tell my teachers at clinical psychology, the Maslow's pyramid of needs, he got it that all wrong.
Thank you
You
for
know,
sharing that.
they got it
Um,
all wrong because Maslow's like on the bottom, basic needs. First, you need to concern of yourself with the primary basic needs of food, shelter, this, and then there's emotional needs and social needs, and then self-actualization on the top. Well, I beg to differ, because I think you go for self-actualization, you go for self-transformation, for transcendence, for self-realization, and then
Mm-mm.
all those other needs get taken care of by themselves. First
Yes.
you go for God, then
Yeah.
not the other way around. So Maslow, sorry, you got it all wrong, my friend.
Thank you for sharing that. But honestly, you know, what you mentioned about Maslow, because a lot of my classes as well in my first college degree was psychology. And just
Oh.
like you, I'm an Aquarius.
Ah,
So
it's our
the mission
age.
mindset, it's the calling mindset. I keep asking a lot of the people I guest on my show. I always ask them, do you feel like there's a calling that you're doing this because it's a calling for you? And then some would say yes. They totally get that calling mindset. But for some people, they're like, I don't really know. But it's true for Aquarius people, you feel that your life needs to have purpose and meaning. And yes, yes to what you said, that I feel spirituality has to be there, and to me it's a circular form. Um like everything has to be attended to. So I want to I'm not sure if I've mentioned this to you, but there's going to be a convention for us, and I want you to be there because you're gonna be one powerful speaker to talk about that. uh,
Oh, I'd be honored.
Yeah, because it's so amazing how you put it. It has to be there. And especially, it's quite bold and daring for you to talk about God or source or higher consciousness. Every time I would guest someone in your area, they would say, we're quite careful talking about things like that here because people have reservations talking about higher power or God. They just want to talk about consciousness. Uh, and what do you feel about that?
I think it doesn't matter really what you call it
Mm-hmm.
so much, right? Some people call it different things. There's divinity,
Yeah.
intelligence, force, and there's just so many. Each culture has a name for it. But
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to overcome labels and
Mm-hmm.
terminology, and because those belong at the level of the mind. We need to
Mm-hmm.
overcome the mind and go into the heart where we feel it, where we sense things, right? We need to overcome. The mind is a tool. The mind is not an end mean for anything. I think when we overcome our mind, that we can totally agree that it's a vibration, right? It's a knowing, it's an understanding. It's a subtle energy that it doesn't require words, doesn't require labels. It just is, right? It just
Yeah.
is.
Thank you for sharing that. I also want to put this on the table because the other day I had a chat with some of our colleagues, and it was a very interesting thing because you're talking about the LGBTQ thing. And then, of course, there was a lot of reactions. A lot of people were saying, you know what, there shouldn't be any labels because it actually causes more conflict. And
Separation,
then,
right? We're all people. We're all humans. We're all, friends, like in the same playground.
yeah,
I think it
yeah.
gets very confusing when it starts with having these pronouns and all this stuff. There's like people with different pronouns, 5 pronouns. You know what? I think you do what you want to do and just be happy with that. You don't need to like try and change the world. I disagree with like racism and like anything like that. And but also we don't need to like create a campaign like when you start to polarize like feminism and Black Lives Matter, or you know this versus that. That's separation. We're just all kids playing in the playground and just should be just like that.
Yeah, I agree in a way with what you said, especially a lot of people responded to it. But there was a mom there. She's actually straight. And one of the things that both of us discussed was it's so different, the dynamics of the mind, when you don't talk about it. It's not just about the labels, because labels doesn't have to be a form of conflict or separation. It's like an identity. So although we say that it's in a surface aspect, but how the habits of the mind, the self-defeating patterns, the inner conversations that a person experienced growing up, if you do not address that, then it becomes it's like an issue that you're just sweeping on the sweeping to
Under the
keep,
rug.
yeah, you're sweeping it under the rug, and whatever is supposed to help you bring out your full potential, you're not able to because you still have that inner conversation that happened maybe 10, 20 years ago. And I think that's what spiritual healing is for, which I really, really am an advocate for, because it takes a lot of vulnerability and trust to work with
Mm,
someone to talk about those issues. And for me, when you come up, let's say for us, it's such an amazing experience because I'm the one who experienced that, but here are parents, and I'm shown that, oh my God, they really do care about these things. And they actually took courses so that they can be in a better space where they can communicate. So, whatever it is, for me, it's so important because even if we say words aren't really that important, it's the vibration and the emotion that we have to tend to the most because it plays the major role and the bigger impact. But if we don't address the words, then it's like downsizing as well. What books actually do for us, because books are written in words, and it's not just about the vibration thing. So I think for a lot of people, we want to get the clarity from all aspects, in the mental plane, in the emotional plane, in the vibrational level, and all of that makes up the whole. So it was amazing because when we had that discussion, and it came from the mom, I was so amazed at her answer because it never crossed my mind. All these years we've been having this discussion, and then she said, labels doesn't have to be a tool that will cause conflict. It doesn't have to diversify. It just needs to identify so that things can be put in the table so that we can celebrate diversity. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, yeah, sorry I put that out because
No, I think that it's, I'm all for celebrating diversity, and we just have to be careful not to polarize, because people sometimes, I'm not saying you polarizing, but people on the other side of it that maybe don't understand whatever, just have advert like reaction. Just watch our reactions, you know what I mean?
the
Everybody's
trigger effect.
different. Everybody has different backgrounds, feel different ways. At the end of the day, we're all kids in the same playground, right? And we have different ways of looking at life, of feeling, and relating to others, and that's none of anybody's business.
Yeah.
To being I think this thing of being favor and in or against and all these are ego positionalities, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The best way you have to do is to respect, celebrate everybody, be able to include people from whatever walk of life that they are, and not be so polarized in a way that
Yeah.
you have such a strong opinion, so opinionated. Doesn't really matter at the end of the day. This is all ego stuff. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is love. It's love in the heart, and the rest is just noise.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that because
Mhm.
one of the things that we also talked about at that time was, that celebrating diversity. And it's really going to stay with me today, what you talked about. We're all kids in the same playground. I love that. It's the first time I heard someone talk about it. It's an amazing
Mhm.
thing to remember.
Mhm.
So, anyway, how do you balance that we're all kids in the same playground and then you're a jiu-jitsu fighter? I
Mhm.
mean, but jiu-jitsu isn't really playing because, there's self-defense in
Conflict.
jiu-jitsu. Yeah,
Yeah.
and how
It's
about,
combat.
yeah. So I don't necessarily see it as playing. How do you reconcile that?
Yes. Um, yes. There's a saying, I think it says, like, I would rather be a savage in a garden than to be a gardener in a war. Right?
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, but I have a question because I'm also putting this in my head now. A couple of years ago, I was 15 years old. I first started with my kung fu classes.
Mm.
I wasn't able to really follow through because my teacher didn't continue. But one of the things that got into my head, especially when I started doing Kundalini yoga, the thing that you're actually overcoming is the violence in your, headspace.
Yes, absolutely.
And and I was thinking to myself, am I not am I not going to attract any form of violence if I start doing other forms of combat again or martial arts? Because a friend of mine was suggesting to me, why don't you use Krav Maga to change your, to learn something new, pick up Krav Maga as a self-defense sport. So now I'm really thinking, how do you balance it? Especially you, you're also a metaphysical practitioner. How do you balance that? I want to be peaceful. And then it's going to be a combat. Are you not preempting some form of violence if you start picking up a sport? I just want to reconcile that for myself because I'm an admirer of your work.
Yeah, so again, I think it's important for you to learn some form of self-defense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Um, it's it's one way. It's not for everybody, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's a good way for you to develop. For me, it was to develop confidence, strength,
Mm-hmm.
right, in myself, and really grow in ways of confronting my fears. So I use jujitsu as a form of personal development, spiritual
Wow.
development. That's my intention.
Yeah.
So that's
It's
different. So you can
amazing.
see the same people doing the same movement, the same physical thing externally, but internally with different mindsets, right?
Exactly. That's what
Hmm.
I'm saying.
Outside looks the same, but inside I am doing uh, heavy duty spiritual growth. I am facing my fear. I am being humbled. Sometimes I lose at the gym from kids, and the
Wow.
kids like sometimes beat me up, and they're like, lower bow, younger, smaller, and they kick my butt. And then I have to be humble. So many times I have to reconcile that, and then we get tapped over and over again, over and over again. So you have to have that humility, right? You develop a lot of humility and respect, confronting your fears, having that discipline, and really, when I compete against my opponent, I look at my opponent with deep respect and admiration, because I know that person went through a lot to be there just like I did, and they
Yeah.
deserve my utmost respect. If they didn't show up there, I wouldn't be able to compete. I'm not competing against them, I'm competing against myself, and then they serve as a mirror, right? My
Yeah.
opponent serves as a mirror for me to see myself and to see my fears and to face myself. So I have deep respect for all my opponents that beat me, that I won or whatever, because without them, none of this personal growth would have been possible. And the confidence that I built by winning, so I lost many times, and when I start winning, now I can transmit this confidence, this courage, right? It takes courage, confidence, and faith to be a human, to be a warrior in life. And more and more, we have to step into this role of becoming a role model for other people. We need more people to look up to other than Kardashians or like, you know, I don't know, like this celebrities that are so empty of meaning, of it's just an external thing that people worship, and maybe rock stars and things like that. But like, what about the real? great models of, confidence and um, creativity and all those types of things, love, and yeah, that's about it.
Thank you for sharing that, Adelita. I think there's something that you might be missing out on because to me, you're an example of someone who has self awareness and self mastery, you know, that you're able to pinpoint for yourself
Yes.
this is my potential and this is how far I can go and develop myself.
Yeah.
And I love that you talked about it because people reach a certain age, especially when they finish a particular degree in college, people think, okay, I got my degree and that's it.
Mm.
It's the case for a lot of people here in the Philippines. And although I'm relatively young, a lot of people work with me and then they would always say, I don't know how you get your ideas. But then I was thinking, there's always another level of your best that you haven't tapped into.
Always.
And you keep breaking your limits, and that's what I love about your background. To me, you're a story of someone who has challenged what your comfort zone many times over. And not a lot of people will say I have so much respect for my opponent because it took them a lot of years of self development so that we can both meet at a particular moment where we're going to have to confront each other. And it's not like you're competing with each other, you're competing with your best at that time. And it's such an amazing thing to hear, and I love hearing things like that. Can you please expand more about it? Because a lot of people live in that material experience thinking, you know what, I'm now in a combat and I'm in a position where that person and here where I stand right now, we're going to have to compete with each other, and it's not really the case. Please expand more on it.
Yeah, those kinds of uh, events and com- competition and things like that, they can be used as a tool to help you improve yourself. I love how you said about self-awareness and what was the other thing?
Self
Self-awareness
mastery.
and mastery. Yeah, so also like the emotional mastery, right? So I used those events to improve myself. And it was not until I learned to tap into my emotions, express my emotions, right? In each ever other direction, like negative emotions and positive emotions. It's not until you really are able to feel the sadness, the depression, the anger, the fear, and admit that, those things exist and name them and express them, and then you overcome them. But if you suppress them, they grow in the dark, right, in your shadow self. So what I like to do is, through jujitsu, I was able to tap into my emotions, and I overcame these emotional blocks that I had. I was very intellectual and then very physical, but if you don't have the emotional mastery, you can never win in life, I believe. So that's what I teach. That's what I'm gonna teach in this event. I have an event Sunday through Zoom. It's a free event for an hour. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
teach different techniques like
Awesome.
EFT, mindfulness, psychological techniques that are all going to help you understand and overcome your negative mindset and also negative emotions. Right? We have power over our emotions, and sometimes we feel powerless because we don't know this information. So I'm just freely sharing this with people, and those that feel called at the very end. I have a special um, offering for if people wants to move on and work with me one-on-one. I also offer that, and for the people that attend, they're going to have a very special deal, because I do this work not because for money. I do this work because this is I don't this is my life calling. This is what I meant to do. And so regardless of how much money you have or you don't have. I think everybody's human being and should have the right to this information. So please, I'm gonna provide the links and everything. It's on my Facebook page. You can friend me on Facebook, Adelita Montero. And I have a website, adelitamonterolive.com. And you can join me on my website. And through there, you can find my Facebook, my Instagram is Adelita Live. And we'll provide the link. There's a Facebook event link that you can join RSVP, and then the Zoom link is already embedded in there into the Facebook invite. So look for those informations here down below on the post. And yeah, I hope to see a lot of you guys there, because I think it's really important for us to win in life, that we're in touch with our emotions, we have control of our mindset, so that we can embody that warrior spirit, that warrior champion mindset, and win.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Adelita. And I also would like to highlight on the part where you talked about humility, because it's a forgotten concept for a lot of people now. And Dr. Cindy and I were actually talking about certain things like devotion, because I read her book, S- Activate Your Spiritual Awakening. So I'm bringing that up because one of the things that I love hearing about what you're saying now, especially you talked about humility, the desire for you to improve, the desire for you to develop yourself some more. Although you keep talking about a warrior mindset and winning, I also want to highlight to our audience how that kind of mindset also closely resembles having a wealth consciousness. Because in all the trainings that I got in all my metaphysical prosperity classes, one of the things that we talk about, especially Adelita mentioned this earlier, it's not wealth isn't about having an abundance of material things. That's not totally in alignment with your calling, because you can have a lot of material things, but it doesn't bring out the best in you. Now it becomes a clutter.
Yes.
But you can have a few things, but those are actually the things that bring out the highest best in you in terms of your creative talents and abilities. And
Yeah.
those things actually help you get into your winning zone, your winning frame of mind, your winning emotion. And at the same time, what she's talking about here is very important, because it's not about having an ostentatious lifestyle, uh, but having that confidence because you're developing yourself. I think you can have fewer resources, financial resources, but if you have that confidence in yourself because you've grown yourself so much, whether you like it or not, you become magnetic to more opportunities and money becomes a natural consequence. Because like what she mentioned earlier, although she's not doing this for the money, I want to put that in perspective as well, because you know what, the way you have worked on yourself, I'm willing to attend your class. And I'm also the type of person where when I see so much value in it, although someone will say, I want to attend it for free because you're giving it for free, but of course, as someone who's also done a lot of self work, I'm not just gonna attend a valuable class and then I'm not gonna give anything because it doesn't resonate with my value system. You know what I mean? You see so much value in it. So even if someone says this is for free, I still want to pay for it, you know? And I want the audience to hear that, because although she's offering it for free, of course, we're grateful for it, but we also want to value that kind of work ethic and and all the length of time that was put into making that kind of event. So thank you for doing that,
Yes.
uh, because I think that it's such an important experience to make people understand that what you're doing on Sunday is very important. So it also does have a lot of value. And I trust that people will actually value it not just in words, not just in lip service, but also in something tangible. So,
Yes, yes, and I'm offering for free, but at the end, I have a special offer in which I'm like super discounting the one-on-one work. I have like different packages that I discount and I provide. If you want to work with me and carry on that work, I have 3 sessions, 1 session, 6 sessions. So I have different opportunities that people can contribute that way. It's the class itself, the 1 hour is valued at $297. I'm doing this ones for free, but this is like how I'm creating my course in which I'm gonna sell the very same information. I'm gonna fine tune and create the online course in which people can gonna pay money to watch exactly what I'm giving for free. So yeah, it's valuable. Why? $297 is the value of it. I'm gonna be selling for, and and I encourage everybody to really show up and give it all you got. But thank you so much for having me here. I have to run. I have another podcast interview I have to jump into right now. But I'm so grateful for you, for all that you've done, and for this wonderful platform that you created, for the wealth consciousness that you're promoting. Money is spiritual. Everybody's supposed to have money in abundance, but you don't go for that
Yeah.
first. First, you work on yourself, and those things will be added on to you. Okay, that's all.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Adelita, and
Thank you,
have fun.
everybody. AdelitaMonteroLive.com. And then I'll see you there. Friend me on Facebook, Adelita Montero. I look like a bodybuilder because I did a bodybuilding competition. And I teach people how to win. I won the bodybuilding competition. I win in
Yes,
jiu-jitsu. And
congratulations.
we're supposed to be winners. We're all winners in
Yes,
God. Thank you.
and so it is. Just one more. What's the one perspective you want to leave with everyone for all of us to
Yes.
center ourselves into?
Invest in yourself. There's
Awesome.
no more important, valuable asset that you ever gonna have. You have to invest in yourself. You have to spend the money. You have to get the coaching. You have to get the trainer. You have to learn about the nutrition and pay those that have already put $150,000 into it. So I'm a lot. So you're getting the fast track, right? Of
Yeah.
like improving your life and moving forward fast. I got coaches, my coaches got coaches, and if you don't have a coach, you're behind. Get your get
Yes.
your get your counselor, get your coach, and get going.
And
You're a
so it
winner.
is. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank
it,
you.
and have fun, and uh, good luck with your next podcast.
Thank you.
Welcome. So, Satnam, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I learned so much and I really value the information I got from her. And, whatever it is that resonated with you, apply it fast because that's how we make real changes. And remember to put things in perspective because your perspective shapes your reality. Satnam and have fun.